So do you want me to kind of break down Black Sparrow a little bit?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. So the solar side, really straightforward. We're building year-round offices, selling solar. We're attaching smart home to that solar as well. So one of the big reasons why we ended up coming to Vivint is for the smart home play. And then on the recruiting side, we put together a company, which is actually, it's a third-party company. And so we're not actually a part of Vivint. We're classified as a vendor at Vivint. And we provide a full cycle recruiting service exclusively for Vivint. And I'd say probably 80% of those efforts, 85% of the efforts are going directly to Evolution, just based on the team and the leadership at Evolution.
The relationship you guys have with us. And we understand it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I think Evolution, the big difference that we've seen with Evolution is that the leadership within Evolution compared to some of the other part, I won't name names, but there's definitely a desire to innovate and to participate in new and probably creative ways outside of just shoulder tapping or going to college campuses, which are obviously phenomenal. But there's been a big push with Evolution. I think a lot of that's been from, obviously Cheyenne has that mentality, and then all of you guys have the same mentality. So it's been very successful. In your group specifically, we've had a lot of success with.
Yeah, I wish we had the data to show.
I know, it's kind of
how many accounts we've got.
We should do it.
It's awesome. Like, I'll show you a slide here shortly where it says what production each week of our accounts per office is coming from rookies and veterans.
Yep.
And it's substantially weighted on the rookie side, and a lot of those are from Black Sparrow.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, our just kind of taking. I'll be quick. We won't do a 3-hour explanation on this, but on the recruiting side, I was with a company called Blue Raven for several years, and long story short, we had an investment from a big private equity firm, and I was the head of sales there, and so we had a mandate to grow very quickly at a certain acquisition cost. We needed to keep our sales cost in line at a certain level, and we needed to expand. And so when I joined the company, we were, I don't know, we probably had a sales force of 200, maybe 250 reps. And then within a 4-year period, we built that to 3,000. We were at, I think, 8 offices, and we built that up to 56 offices across the country, opened a ton of states. This is all for solar. But one of the main focuses was to create a recruiting system that was scalable and sustainable over a full year, so that we could go launch these offices with solar, and I think with smart home as well. But one of the things, you're kind of, the growth of the company is dependent on how good that leadership is and how good they are at recruiting and retaining people. We had good leadership, not as good as Vivint. You guys are the best, or we are the, I guess we say we are the best at recruiting. But we had to create a different type of recruiting platform so we could grow very quickly, and we could do it sustainably. And so over a lot of iterations, one of the contributions that I had there was putting together this recruiting process, which basically, posts an ad and takes a candidate through the entire recruiting process. So screening, interviewing, the full onboarding process, getting them ready basically to go to what we call a boot camp, or show up to somebody's office and be trained by that manager or that leader in the area. And then we just rinse and repeat that every 2 weeks consistently. If we send 10 people to this boot camp, you're probably going to end up with 2, maybe 3 of them, and they end up panning out long term. But as that builds over time, you flash forward 2 or 3 years down the road, and your group's double the size that it was when you started, because you're starting to retain the people that are working. And so that's what we've been focused on here at Vivint, and a lot with Evolution is to create the systems and put everything in place that we need to have in place to be able to see success with that. I think this year we've onboarded, since August, roughly 2,600 reps.
Well, and even onboarding a rep within itself is hard.
Super hard.
And so 2,600.
Yeah.
And people don't know this, but in 2011, that was my first year at Vivint.
Yeah.
I think we had onboarded 4,000 reps as a company. That's pretty much where we're at today.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
We haven't grown. We haven't figured this out yet.
Yeah.
And I think the real benefits that we're going to see from this, if our leadership stays the course, and that's what a big part of it, be that steady leader that guys can come into and build. Adam Nelson moved to Dallas 5-6 years ago, And I was laughing at their production for the first year because I'm like, we're smoking these guys in California. But after 2-3 years, they just compounded.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to happen with this recruiting
1,000%.
platform.
Yeah. Yeah. The process with this type of recruiting and same conversation that I have with, you know, with Santiago or Josh Crinton, it's a 2-3 year play, and it compounds over time. It's almost like compounding interest, because you get these first year rookies that go out, they have some success, they come back the following year, then they come back the following, and then that next year you're doing recruiting again, and then they have a story and they're like, hey, I came through the same recruiting process. And then the new guy coming in, it's like, oh, I see the story that you have. And so in 2-3 years at Vivint, you know, if we stay the course on this and people can cultivate these reps, it could be a game changer. Could be a game changer for everybody that participates in it.
One thing
I think it will be.
One thing that I love, and probably bad for me to say, but I hate the mentality of reps where it's like, hey, I'm a good cargo driver, I'm a 100 account rep, so I'm entitled to be an asshole. I'm entitled to not listen to my area director or do whatever kind of I want because who else is going to take my place? I'm like, we're going to take your place because we have a funnel now that
now we're pushing people.
And a lot of the leaders that you currently hope, like we have leaders right now that we're hoping like, hey, I hope they make that turn, stop being a pain in the ass and start like being a team player. Where before we used to hold on to those guys and they would turn into a cancer and they would end up moving on. And where now I feel like we got our balls back a little bit, like, hey, if you're not doing your job at a high level, we're going to replace you.
We're going to push somebody in.
And I think we have that avenue now, which isn't a threat to anybody, but at the same time, it's like, you know, be patient, do your job and do it the right way, and don't 100%. Be a pain in the ass. And you'll also be the beneficiary of these new recruits and of this new talent we get.
Yeah, I would say that's been the mentality, especially with this type of recruiting. And you know, I always say, like, no matter what, you've heard this story and a lot of people have, but you know, when I gave this pitch to the private equity company to get the money to build this program, I used that scene from Moneyball where Brad Pitt's talking, you know, they're sitting around the table and they're talking about recruiting somebody. They're like, he's always good looking face, good looking ball player, or whatever. And, you know, and Brad Pitt says, does he get on base, you know? And at the end of the day, that roster mentality of being able to, you know, take a larger group of people, funnel them through a process. You get surprised with some of these people, you know, there's guys that you'll have, guys or gals that'll come in, you wouldn't expect them to be successful to go out and sell 100 accounts in their first year.
And then,
you know?
and then are building a team the second year and are relocating for the career and opportunity. And it's kind of gotten away from that. Look, you used to have to be a Provo all-star bro to be at Vivint.
Yeah, 100%.
Or you used to drive the Pro Coma. You had to you know, return mission. If you were AP, like you were going to be good, you know. But if like you were just a district leader, you know, you might not even hire you. Right? Like, where like Jason Brown, I don't know if you know Jason Brown, one of the 7 VPs.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Yes.
He got turned down as a sales rep because he just didn't look the part.
Yeah.
So he actually was hired as a tech.
No way.
Yeah. But his talent and skill level was astronomical, but 100%. He just didn't fit the mold.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, been a huge kryptonite for Vivint, where it's like, we couldn't grow because we were like, oh, you don't check A, B, and C. It's like, well, go to these offices now, and it's like it's everybody that wants an opportunity has an opportunity at Vivint, and we can teach them. We can teach them
how. Yeah, I think that mentality of, you know, as a leader, and I've always taught this, and this is what I you know, teach to my leadership, is that, you know, you bring somebody in, everybody gets the same treatment, everybody gets the same level of commitment from a leadership standpoint, and they will show you who and who will not be successful.
Sure. It's not already predetermined.
You don't predetermine that. People will show you, and they'll show you over time. But you give the same level of training, the same level of commitment to everybody that comes in. And if you do that, those leaders inevitably end up having better or bigger, more successful teams, in my opinion, because they allow that growth to happen.
Well, look, and you know, and we're going to probably separate this part out because this is really good stuff, but not even going with we should like do two different, but it's so important for guys to understand that, like Neil Rogers, 50,000 and growing after losing substantial accounts this year.
100%.
You go out to their offices and it's Miami, Florida, Southern boys.
1,000%.
Right? Like it is not. And they are
grinders.
They are running operations and systems. They're not looking at like, oh, does this, does this kid check A, B, and C? It's like, no, let's go to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the more we adapt that, and the more we run good operations and good systems, we don't have to manage those individual people.
Yep.
But we can plug people into those systems and get the results. And you guys, like, we're still getting new recruits every week showing up to the office.
Yeah.
I've got offices, 4 out of my 8 are closed off to new recruiting right now based on car groups.
Yeah, 100%.
Which is great.
Yeah,
like,
that's great.
We can't even take on new reps. But I think the real benefit from this, I know for a fact, and you guys did it over at Blue Raven, is second year we're gonna be like, oh my gosh, is this 100%. Real? And then third year we're gonna almost be expecting like 200 new rookies in each group to come in.
1,000%, yeah.
And so
it's the way this system will work. And if everybody that participates in it, I think that, if I'm speaking to anybody who's participating, that's taking on these new recruits and cultivating them, the way this program works, and how it ends up being long-term successful is that, like we were saying earlier, if you can take these people that come in, you put them into a system. We all know in this industry, if you get into this industry where there's no floor so that you can have no ceiling. You don't take a base, you don't have a salary, you don't have any of those things. And the reason why you do that job is so you have potential to earn as much money as you want. The number one indicator that we see for whether or not a rep is successful when they come in is how fast we get them paid. And really that comes down to the systems that are in place from the leadership and how quickly they can get them producing and trained and out there, and how well they take care of those reps. And in the off season, preseason blitz and registering, there's a lot of things we'll come out with. I think we've learned a lot this year. So going into the fall of next year, we have a lot of learnings and a lot of systems that we'll put in place.
You guys came in late and,
Yeah, I mean, we were right there. I showed up at the 2,500 summit to pitch this for and we were barely getting going as the season was starting to.
So I think,
off.
And now you guys understand how we operate. But shout out to we got 3 out of the 10 in rooks.
Yep.
And that's like Brandon Miller, Kyle Song, Jordy Sturgeon. It's like guys that were like raising their hand saying, "Yep, I want them." Like
100%.
Get me there. I'll do the work.
Yep.
And this job, I've always said, it comes down to 4 things if you want to do it well. And it's not, you have to learn how to sell.
Yep.
You have to learn how to recruit. You have to learn how to manage your recruits. And then you have to learn how to retain them.
Yep.
You learn those 4 things. And now we've got a funnel, finally.
Yeah.
Because we have tried and failed.
100%. Yeah.
That we can build the recruiting basis. So guys, this isn't going away.
No.
But if you've got a head start on it, you're just going to get there faster.
You're going to be more successful faster. Yeah.